Hello and welcome to beautiful sunny Weymouth and Portland, where we're coming to you from the Weymouth and Portland National Sailing Academy for the 505 Worlds 2016. There are 2 races scheduled today, races 6 and 7. After 5 races, the early leaders are the Brits Nathan Batchelor and Sam Pascoe, followed by Pinnell and Davis, with the Americans Moore and Butner in third. The race format for the 505 Worlds is a sausage, triangle, sausage and a short leg to the finish. And they start with a gate start rather than a line start. This involves a pathfinder sailing on port tack as fast as he can from the start, and the rest of the fleet file round behind him to start in a straight line. And theoretically, everybody gets the same position coming off the start line. The pathfinder for this next race, race 6, is Howie Hamlin and Zinn from the USA. With me in the commentary booth is Toby Shadowalt, who's going to be doing the main job on the analytics. Toby, what's it looking like so far?
Hi Richard, and welcome everybody to a beautiful day in Weymouth. Looks like very good sailing, westerly winds, pretty strong with more than 20 knots gusting up to 25. So the 505s, they will have not only a large course to sail, but also a lot of breeze to wrestle with.
Ideal sailing conditions then?
Yeah, right. I think at the moment we are looking out from the rabbit boat, now starting.
Yeah, actually you can see the engine there. So this is the back of the committee boat, which is following the pathfinder. So we'll actually see the fleet coming across, if that flag wasn't quite in the way. We'd see the fleet coming across the stern of the committee boat as they all start behind the pathfinder.
So that's now 55 seconds to the start, and at the start signal there will be the rabbit, so that will be 505 just in front of this rubber boat going around the mark, and then all the other boats, they will have to pass behind this rib. One important rule to take advantage or to be careful with is there is no inside room at the mark or at the rubber boat, so you have to stay clear of it.
Right. So it's the rules are exactly the same as if it wasn't moving, but this one is moving.
Yeah, and if you look at the current, I think today the left-hand side should be favored. So I would figure that now in 15 seconds to the start, it will be quite congested and lots of boats passing behind this rib very, very soon.
So just to reinforce that, the starting line is defined by a pathfinder sailing as fast as he can on port tack, and the rest of the boats file in behind a chase boat, the committee boat that's actually following the pathfinder. So what we're looking at here is the view out the back of that committee boat. The start gun is gone, and there goes the first guy through the gate.
Number 2 and 3, they're all passing behind, and we know the overreaders, they still take some time. First one of the first few boats to pass behind will be Pinnell and Davis. They should pass behind very soon.
Okay, this the shot we're seeing now is of the pathfinder. That's Hamlin and Zinn from the USA. And you can see on the right of the picture there, that's the boats queuing up, waiting for them to come past. And they'll just sheet in and accelerate around the back of the committee boat, as we can see them doing there.
So this is a really critical moment. And it's also very difficult to get through the wake of the rib. It has to go pretty fast in these strong winds, and you can see the 505s bouncing through the waves pretty hard.
Yes, it'd be much tougher if the boats were any smaller.
Yeah, to my mind, very important is also to accelerate on the windward side of the wake, because you can start to plane. And if you do that very fast, you can easily pass some boats to leeward very fast.
You can see somebody got it a little bit wrong there, must have dropped the main sheet. And it's kind of a competence test. If you do it absolutely right, you'll be the same as everybody else, but if you mess it up, you'll be a little bit worse. So it's difficult to get an advantage, but it's easy to lose an advantage, to make a mistake and lose distance here at the start.
So we're back on one of the boats that hasn't started so far. They are now lining up.
That's right. This is overall leaders, Nathan Batchelor and Sam Pascoe.
And they really want to start late, it figures to me. I'm surprised to see that.
Well, the thing is that the tide in the bay, you may have a slight tide advantage going left, but it is only very slight. And I would imagine that they're thinking that the wind, because it's quite windy today, I'd imagine they'll be thinking the wind will be more important than the tide. So they're actually starting quite late. You can see however many, we're a few minutes after the first boats have started now.
Yeah, and they are now accelerating. You can see now the crew is getting ready to go onto the trapeze. You can also see the rabbit on the left-hand side of the screen. So he's coming up.
Yep.
So
Okay,
now they're
and there's the
accelerating.
rib.
Crew is out now.
So they're starting well late. The rules are that the Pathfinder sails for at least 3 minutes, and then he's released, and the committee boat carries on for a short while after that. When the Pathfinder's released, he can just tack, and if it's the sort of day when you need to go right, the Pathfinder gets an advantage, and if it's the sort of day on which it pays to go left, he gets a massive disadvantage. The Pathfinder selected, it's the boat that finished 10th in the previous race.
So starting to windward was former world champion also Wolfgang Hunger. He also started rather late. I think it was roughly half of the pack. So they were about middle of all the boats. And that's a very large fleet in the 505 here. More than 100 boats are starting.
It's interesting. You can see on the analytics, it's almost a straight line. The boats taking up as they come around the back of that committee boat. Those are all the boats that have got it right. They're all in a straight line, and the ones who made a mistake have fallen out the back door a little bit. There's a couple who seem to be bows ahead, right down the leeward end there. Oh, okay. Must have been a big wind shift.
There can either be a big wind shift, or if somebody crashes into the rib, then also the start gets abandoned.
Okay, they've abandoned the start. Either somebody interfered with the Pathfinder or just a big wind shift that...
Once we get news from the committee boat why it was abandoned, we will tell you.
Yeah, we'll confirm the reasons as soon as we know. So back into another starting sequence.
It will be the same person who's the rabbit again.
Yes.
And there will be a 5-minute starting sequence, so everybody can line up again and also get some important information from the first maybe 2 minutes of the race so far. To my mind, I think this will now take some time. We can also have a break right now and fix some more issues in order to get you more different camera angles and possibly actually the drone as well.
Oh, that'd be good.
So we'll just take a quick break and be back for the next start in due time. Catch you later. Hello everybody, and back again on beautiful Weymouth Bay for the 505 World Championships. We had an abandoned start in the first race because the Pathfinder boat was crashed by one of the 505s. Now we are back up for the starting sequence again, and it's less than 2 minutes to the start.
Okay, it's a beautiful sunny day here in Weymouth. We're at the Weymouth and Portland National Sailing Academy. 505 World Championships 2016.
Race number 6, and it's now less than 1 minute to go. Boats are lining up behind the Pathfinder boat, waiting to start on starboard tack.
It's going to be about 15 to 20 knots from west-southwesterly direction.
There is a slight favor current-wise on the left-hand side, but maybe there will be also a right-hand shift on the bay. In the last starting attempt, we saw the race leader starting pretty late, so favoring the right-hand side. Will be interesting to see what they are going to do now.
Yeah, I think it's they either think the wind's going to go right, that's to a westerly direction, or maybe they think there's a wind bend round Portland.
Hamlin and Zinn, this is the Pathfinder boat, now getting ready to head up for the beat. And here they are. Now the start is free. They have to pass the mark, and everybody else has to pass behind the rubber boat, now accelerating, as you can see.
You can see somebody in the background there's missed the start. There's the first two going through the gate. And a lot of people having a lot of trouble, Toby, getting over the wake of the rib.
Yeah, that's very critical. It's actually quite big, as you can see here. And it will slow down the boat. I think that was a nice one. They really managed to get through the first wave well.
Yeah, but some of them, there, you can see that guy just seemed to go sideways after he'd gone over the first wave. It's obviously causing a little bit of trouble. You can see the turbulence coming out of the back of the engine, and that plays havoc with the foils.
Yeah, I think it's also important to have your sails pretty open at that time to accelerate back again.
Yeah, the faster you can get through that bad section, the better. And you can see in the background the various degrees of success. That was a bad one.
Ooh, that's pretty wet. And I think it's very tough for the crew as well. he gets really wet at that
Well,
instant.
it is. You know, the best way to do it is not to bear away, but to just accelerate past the back of the rib.
Yeah, that's easier said than done, I guess, in those 20 knots of wind.
Yeah, luckily they're a fair distance apart. It's getting a little bit crowded here. You can see a few boats trying to start at once. And as Toby pointed out earlier, you can't call for room on the committee boat when you're going around the back of it. So if the guy to leeward won't let you in, you just got to hold back.
And as we see on the analytics, we have now ranked number 9, boat Holt and Smith. They have just passed behind the Pathfinder boat, and now all the other top 10 contenders, they are about to pass and enter the race.
The way the Pathfinder is selected is it's the boat that finished 10th in the previous race. So on days when it pays to go right, it's a massive advantage to be the Pathfinder because you start your race going all the way right. And when you're released after 3 minutes, you can just tack, and that gives you an extra couple of lengths on everybody else.
So now, roughly 2 minutes after the Rabbit has started, the top guns, they are about to enter. Passing behind the Pathfinder. Oh, did you see that?
That was
really
close.
And it really matters to get a good acceleration on the back of the wave on the windward side. I think you can actually start planing on the other side if you do it right.
Yeah, and obviously the closer you can get to the engine, the better, because you're in the rough water for a shorter space of time. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, critical part is also to have the crew weight pretty far backward when you pass the first set of waves in order to keep the bow clear, and then maybe to move forward once you're on the windward side, so you can start to surf down.
But you can see that these people are missing the gate by quite a long way. Look, there's several meters out the back of the boat there, so they've got their timing wrong. It's the sort of start where if you get everything right, you'll be the same as everyone else who gets it right. But if you make a mistake, you're immediately last.
So we also see in the 3D animation, Bachelor and Pasco, the leaders at the moment, they have just passed the Pathfinder boat and now they're in the race. We're zooming in a little bit and we can see They are in a comfortable position somewhere in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, not too bad. They didn't get a great start, but they didn't get a duff one. So yeah, they're in that main straight line that we can see. There's a couple of boats that popped out ahead. Obviously got exceptionally good starts.
Yeah, you see the leaderboard right at the moment. That's Holt and Smith.
The current world champions.
And they have been sailing very well in the last few races, really coming back up and trying to, I think, climb back to the top spot.
Yeah, they like it when it's windy, don't they?
They do.
They seem to have an advantage on the upwind when it's over 12 knots, which it certainly is today.
Yeah, the first two races at these 505 World Championships were very light, and some of the top contenders were struggling. But now we have more typical Weymouth and Portland Bay sailing conditions. Oh, what's happening there? Somebody on port tack.
Must have, yeah, some mistake, big mistake there. Yeah.
Yeah, now they're attacking, but they're far back of the pack.
They are dead last.
Yeah, that's very expensive.
So most of the fleet has started now. There's only a few laggards. What happens is when the Pathfinder is released, he's allowed to tack, but he doesn't have to. He can carry on sailing. Once he's released, the committee boat will carry on going at the same speed as it had been in the same direction. And then after 3 more minutes, they cut the engine and drift. Now, at that point, if you haven't started, you're really starting to build up a disadvantage.
And now we can see there is no more boats going behind. So also in the 3D animation, we see that 5 minutes after the start, everybody is in the race, has passed behind
and Harry Hamlin, I think they've just tacked. Hamlin and Zinn, I think they've just tacked. They're furthest right. And you can see what an advantage they've got over the boats that are nearby. There you go, 26-meter lead for the Pathfinder.
Well, how much do you think is the actual lead just by being the Pathfinder?
Oh, well, if there are no wind changes, I'd say it's probably got to be at least 2 lengths, maybe 4, which would give you 20 meters.
20 meters, but they have to tack, might lose another 1.5. So that looks like they had excellent speed and also some right-hand shift.
Yes. Yeah, and it's interesting as well that the current world champions, Holt and Smith, started relatively early. They might have been looking for the tidal advantage you were talking about, Toby. And the overall leaders, Batchelor and Pascoe, started more or less in the middle of the fleet.
So now we have a better overview of the course, and we see right in the middle, that's the current leaders, Batchelor, Pascoe. They are in the front row. They have clear air, but they are well behind some of the other boats. I think Holt and Smith, they have now tacked to port, and they are able to cross in front of most of the other boats. That appears to be, they must be really fast.
They are fast, yeah. They definitely have an advantage when it's over 12 knots. Not necessarily over everyone in the fleet, but over enough of them. And you can see from the analytics that they're easily crossing the boats that started after them. So they must have got a good start, gone fast, and they're crossing nearly everyone. Looks like they might be in some trouble in a couple of minutes. There's a couple of boats they might have to duck.
I think they're looking pretty fine at the moment. Yeah, we will see if they can pass the front of the other boats. Anyway, they're at the moment, they're in the middle of the course. We're zooming in a little bit, looking closer at Batchelor Pascoe. They are in trouble. They had to duck a few, but that's not unfamiliar to them. Actually, in none of the races, they have been in the top 10 at the top mark. And
really?
Actually, only in one of the 5 races so far, they were in the top 20. Normally, they are starting, well, let's say, a little bit more back, but then catching up, especially on the first downwind, sorry.
What do you think that is? Are they sailing better? Are they lighter than everybody else?
I think we'll have to ask. They came second in the Fireball Worlds 2014, and I think for the Fireball you got to be a little bit lighter than for the 505.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe they are lighter, but they also have to be good with the waves.
Yes.
Now we are on the right-hand side of the course, and we see that the advantage line here, the yellow line going across the fleet, is slipping more. We see the helmsman has to work really hard with the main sheet and the rudder as well to keep the boat up to speed. Now back on the 3D animation, you can see that the boats that went to the left, they are now getting a slight advantage. And Holden Smith very close to Martin Lowry. Martin Lowry also, they have been selling very well. In the last 3 races, they won 2, but had 2 very bad races in the beginning with 30 and 40. So struggling in the lighter wins, but for this race and the stronger breeze, I would say they are also high contenders for the first place. So I mean, it's actually amazing how far the speed spread, isn't it? Like you can see on the analytics, they are like more than 1 kilometer apart from each other.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the people who started early and carried on are a long way away from the people who started later.
Yeah, yeah, but I think it's actually pretty crowded in the middle and on the outsides of the field. It's a little bit less crowded. They might have more space. I would like to be in more space and have the freedom to go high or low, foot or point as needed.
Yeah, well, you can see that's certainly true of these the leading 2, Holton Smith and Martin and Lowry. They both on port tack, heading over towards the right-hand side of the course now, and they've crossed all the people that were to windward of them when they started. And as Toby said, Batchelor and Pascoe are having to claw their way back a little bit. They tacked, took a few transoms, went behind a few people to get over to the right, to get into some clear air, and now they're coming back across.
They are, like, if you look at the analytics, you can't see them in the top 10. They are way down. They're actually in 57s at the moment. So they will have to do a lot of climbing if they want to maintain the top spot.
Yes, you can see on the analytics right now, look at the gap from Lowry back to Batchelor and Pascoe.
I wonder if it wouldn't be good for Martin and Lowry to tack and go back to the majority of the fleet. They are now mostly the most right boat on the course, which is kind of risky, I think.
Yeah, it's difficult to tell. If you look at the top of the screen there, that's Portland, which is a little bit flattened in this view. It's actually quite a big lump getting in the way of the wind. And I think the way the wind comes round the outside of those two, comes round each side, the people who are going right are hoping to get a freer into that top mark. The top mark's on the right of the shot now. The 2 green lines there are the ley lines.
You think he will go for the ley line and try to avoid another tack?
It's looking that way right now. I mean, he's not that far from the ley line. If he's sensible, he'll go back a little bit short of the ley line just in case he gets a lift.
Yeah, we are now.
But he's definitely committed to that right-hand side.
But now we are back on Batchelor and Pascoe, isn't it? I think so.
Yeah.
And you can see them really battling here, especially on starboard tack. You have the swell coming in a little bit more from the front. So to my mind, that's the even more difficult part to sail technically.
They're punching the waves more.
Yeah, yeah. So you have to have your crew weight a little bit more back, get a little bit more twist in the sail, acceleration again and again. So really have to work hard. I think now they're approaching attack.
They're going, yep.
They went for attack right there.
Oh, yeah, they're deep right now. But it's interesting as well. The 2 leaders have pulled out a fair distance, but there's still quite a lot to be made on the left-hand side. It doesn't look as if it's a really major advantage to the right here.
I think Martin and Lowry, they have tacked below the ley line, as you said, but they know they had a left-hand shift, and they have to pass behind Holden Smith. Maybe they will tack right in front of them. What do you think?
We'll see. I know I would if I was Mike Holt.
Yeah, you would go for the ley line and play it safe.
No, I'd slam I'd slam on the guy behind because I want to put some distance in before I get to the mark.
Yeah.
But Mike Holt, he's a nice guy. He's let them off. Look, he's going to the ley line.
Yeah, he'll have
saving himself a tack or 2 tacks. There he goes. But he's very confident in his speed in this, and he's not that worried about overstanding a little bit.
Looks like he's going very, very far. Maybe the analytics are wrong, can be. But to my mind, now the left-hand side is coming in very nicely.
Yes, well, that's what I was saying. There certainly wasn't a massive gain on the right-hand side halfway out the beat.
No, I mean, I think this is the current factor now coming back in. And the left-hand side looks very good. So Martin and Lowry, they are dropping a little bit.
Well, it's Smith and Needham coming back from the left as well. Looks like they've just taken the lead.
Smith and Needham.
Yeah, the Brits, they won one of the races earlier on in the week.
Yeah, good.
And they won the British Nationals last week in the same venue. A lot of the international classes have an international week, which is usually the local national championship as well. And that's the event that we had here last week, which was won by Smith and Needham. And they're now leading this race. 18-metre lead over Martin and Lowry. So very interesting beat. Mike Holt and Smith started early, looking for a gain on the left-hand side, were leading halfway out the beat. But then it looks like the boats that carried on out to the left got a little bit of an advantage there, and that's how Smith and Needham got into the lead. They're approaching the windward mark quite fast now.
So now, what will you think about the beat now here being a little bit better on the left-hand side, especially in the end?
Yeah, it could be the tide that you were talking about earlier on. It doesn't look like the wind shifted a huge amount. It's certainly not gone from west-southwest back to the southwest.
Would you go for an early jibe maybe in order to avoid some of the traffic?
Good call. Good question. The answer is it depends. I think normally if you're approaching the windward mark on a starboard lift, then you'd go for the jibe set, everything else being equal. Or if you're in good pressure, you'd want to go off to chase the pressure. The first downwind leg here is going to be a dead run down to a leeward gate.
But they have to pass an offset mark, isn't it? So it's down mark keeps you a little bit away from the rest of the beating boats in the immediate bear away around the wind mark. Spacer mark. So we are back on the overall leaders, but they are actually quite far back in this race. Still below the ley line at the moment. I think they will have to make a tack pretty soon.
Yeah, they're not enjoying this one at all. I think they made a slight mistake at the start and then wanted to get across to the right and paid quite a big penalty coming across to the right. They were in bad air all the way across.
So now we are back to the overall.
Smith and Needham lead round that first mark.
Ahead of Martin Lowry and I think just behind Holden Smith. So they might have been better to tack right in front of them, as you said.
Yeah, well, we'll see. And we can also see pulling through the fleet is Wolfgang Hunger, another previous world champion. I think he's won this championship 5 times. He's just pulled himself up into 5th place. He'll be one to watch as we go through the rest of this race.
So I think it's interesting to see, if you look at the ley line, how far many of the boats are over the ley line. They went too far. It's really congested on the starboard ley line, and they are losing. So the riches get actually a little bit richer.
Yes.
If you see here, that would be the ley line.
Yes. It's you kind of get drawn into the trap. If you get onto the ley line too early.
And this distance here, that's extra sail distance. And twice. You have to sail them one way and back again. So the first boats, they will pull ahead a little bit of this.
Yeah, you come back a little bit faster, but you're right. You've done that extra distance to go beyond the ley line, and it's partly that you get trapped on the ley line early, and then somebody lands a tack on you, and you're in bad wind, so you tack even further out.
So still the overall leaders, they are still on the upwind. They are now approaching the windward mark, not far away. I think they are already setting up the sail.
Yeah, something weird's happened on the run here. Martin and Larry have taken the lead, and Smith and Needham have dropped to 3rd. I don't know if that's that they've jibed across and may have had a slow jibe.
And I think Batchelor and Pascoe, we can see them.
Oh no, they got rolled.
They got rolled?
Yeah, I think that's when Smith and Needham jibed, Martin and Larry sailed straight over them, and now Holt and Smith have sailed over them as well.
So this is like, I mean. Have you ever sailed the 505 in those really strong wind conditions?
Yeah, I sailed at Quiberon in 1990. And it was full force 5.
And I mean, it's amazing. The boats, they really can handle a lot of wind. And although the design is a little bit older, it's still like really dynamic and very fast on downwind.
Yes, it's very seaworthy, but it's also very fast planing downwind. So it's the sort of boat you can really push when it gets windy. It's not delicate, it's not fragile, it's not going to catch you out.
And I think Martin and Lowry, they have really put down the pedal. Now they have like a 70-meter lead. That's amazing, just from the mark. Going very fast.
Yeah, and they're all still on starboard.
Yeah.
So they're going to try and do it in 2 jibes. So tell us a little bit about the apparent wind sailing on the downwind legs here, Toby. They instead of going straight downwind with the wind behind them, they go a little bit higher and a lot faster.
That's right, that's right. So this is very special in the 505. In the light winds, you sail pretty far, pretty much a straight course with the spinnaker. But once the wind gets stronger, you put the spinnaker pole a little bit more to the front and really accelerate from the mark. And this is what we see here. And the boats are traveling at the moment around 15, 16 knots. So that's really fast.
Yeah, but but it's also an extra skill in knowing how high to go. You know, obviously the higher you go, the faster you go, but you get diminishing returns. You're going a lot further.
And especially with the swell coming in from the left-hand side, I think on starboard tack right now it's not so difficult because you're going to the side of the waves. But once you jibe, you can actually go pretty much down with the wave and soak some extra depth.
Right, right. But watch out for nose diving.
So now we see the first boats are jibing back to the gate in the middle of the course, and I would expect Martin and Laurie to jibe pretty soon as well, because it's very hard to
there we
judge.
go. I think that was Pinnell and Davis there we were on board with there for a second.
Yeah, and they seem to have some trouble.
Well, yeah, I don't know what they're doing there. You can see from the analytics, Batchelor and Pascoe have put in an early jibe. Obviously, as deep as they were in the fleet, there was a lot of congestion around there. It was difficult for them to get clear out, so they've jibed out.
They were actually in 48th at the top mark, but now the analytics already see them on 29th. So they might have gained quite a lot just by sailing in clear air.
Yeah, well, the other thing is that if they've jibed at the right time, if they got a freer and jibed early, then they'll be going on a better course towards the bottom mark and faster.
And you could see in the other races, they normally catch around 10 places on the first downwind.
That's astonishing.
Yeah, and I'd expect them to really try to do that at the moment now, because actually 10 places is not enough. If they want to have a good race, they might need to actually catch up to 20 places.
They've been remarkably consistent. I think they're the only boat who's been in the top 10 in every race so far. There have been 5 races so far, and they're discarding a 9th.
I think Martin and Laurie, they might have gone a little bit too far. It looks to me that Smith and Needham, they are looking to be ahead at the moment.
Yes, yeah, so Smith and Needham have got rolled. They jibed a little bit earlier than Martin and Lowry. What's happened to Holt and Smith?
I think they dropped also, and as I said, like technically it's really tough on the... Now we see the jibe.
Okay, this is Batchelor and Pascoe jibing back across.
Yeah, and the 505 has a beautiful 2 spinnaker pole system, really nicely, and I think they managed all right. The crew's already back out again and powering away.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Mike Holt on that jibe. He might have been rolled as he jibed. It's unlike him to make a boat handling error, but that could have been what's happened.
So
and as Toby said, Martin and Lowry look like they've overstood.
Yeah, and Smith and Needham,
they
are really
low.
pulling away.
I mean, we can see the gate there on the bottom of where those green lines converge. That's the analytics view of the ley lines, the downwind ley lines to get down to the gate. And it looks like Martin and Larry, I mean, look at the course change they've just done. Did they not see the mark or something?
Yeah, I think they didn't see the mark. They must have put down the spinnaker, I guess, and now are sailing with 2 sails
that's
back
grim.
again. You can also see it in the SAP Sailing Analytics online if you want to look yourself, that their speed has dropped quite dramatically.
They must have had to drop.
Yeah, I think they dropped, and they are now going a lot slower than everybody else.
I think they might still save second by the time they get there, but that's a bad mistake to make.
Yeah, so better. I think on the first upwind we saw people going too far, and on the downwind again, so it might be better to stay in the middle.
Yes, but the other thing is it looks like there might have been a shift there, which oh no, that would have no, it's just a straight mistake. If it shifted at all, it's shifted to the left, which would have been an advantage for them coming back in. They would have saved them, but
now it gets really congested at the leeward mark, and
they've lost 100 meters on that downwind leg.
Yeah, do you think one of the marks is heavily favored?
It's difficult to tell. I think that.
Yeah, it's very difficult to say that.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the right-hand gate as we look upwind looks like that might be a little bit further upwind, but that'd be the one you'd want to go to if you were coming in on port, because you don't want to do a jibe and then round up. You want to just do a nice straight drop on the tack that you're already on.
So if you look at the gate, just for everybody who's maybe not so familiar with this, when people are sailing, they have to pass through the gate, and there's either this way or they pass the other way, and they go back up to the wind mark, which is up here. So it gets really congested at either of the marks.
Right, but the fastest route round your mark is just to do a straight drop on the tack you're on and then round up. So quite a lot of the time you're thinking, as you're coming down the run, you're thinking, where do I want to go at the start of this next beat? If you want to go left, then you want to go around the left-hand gate mark. The right-hand one as you're coming down. Sorry if that's a bit confusing. So you would jibe across earlier so that you're coming into the bottom mark on starboard, so you can just do a round up and go left.
If we look back on the beat, we now see Smith and Needham, they have tacked again. They have to go through all the boats coming back on downwind, and they have bad air and a lot of waves. Do you think that was smart?
Well, the fleet's thinned out a little bit. Yeah, you can see they're coming up to a pack of them now. They are coming back across now on port. I think what they did was that they jibed at the bottom and rounded the left-hand gate mark as we look upwind. And then they've put in a covering tack. They had about a 100-metre lead, so they could afford to lose a little bit of distance just to make sure that they've got control of the boats behind them. The next boats that came around behind them all went for the other mark and are carrying on out to the right-hand side of the course. So Smith and Needham are in a very good place to control the rest of the fleet from here.
So maybe we can also get back to Batchelor and Pascoe. I wonder how much they caught. The SAP Sailing Analytics online, they tell me that they caught back up to something like 20th place. So, and there we have them back again. They are on port deck, already have rounded the mark, and massive downwind gain. Very beautifully sailed by the current overall leaders.
Yeah, well, they've still got a lot to do. I mean, it gets progressively harder to pass boats as you get later on in the race. A, the boats that you're getting to are going faster, and B, they're getting further apart.
I think if you look on the left-hand side, and you see here, that's the line boats could actually go if they have clear air. And but if you see what people are doing, they are sailing a lot lower, actually sailing somewhere this direction, losing a lot of the height here. And this is what happens if you don't have clear air.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So you're compromised because you haven't got clean air to sail in, and you also might be going bow down a little bit to try and go through the boats ahead of you to leeward or increase the distance from them.
If we see Batchelor and Pascoe, they have tack now, and they have beautiful clear air, sailing through the middle of the course, maybe actually towards the favored left-hand side. I think that looks pretty good. That's strong strategy, I think.
Yeah, we'll see, won't we? I mean, the leaders of the pack are all going out to the right, and Smith and Needham are defending. If you see where they are positioned with respect to Martin and Lowry, they're more towards the centre of the course. Martin and Lowry have gone extreme. I think they've just tacked. Yeah, they've just tacked and they're coming back across. So Smith and Needham know that Lowry and the rest of the fleet have to come back across. So they're just trucking across the middle of the course on port. And when they've gone past Lowry, they'll do the same thing again. They'll tack back just to control them.
I'll take straight now in order to control the left-hand side.
And lead them back out to the left, which we think's favoured. I mean, we don't know. And you can see they've already extended 40 metres.
Yeah, but also interesting is like Martin and Lowry, they are serious in the last few races. It has been amazing. 1, 4, and now they're in second place. So they are really, really sailing well. Bertalo and Reifenscheid here on the screen. Very surprising to see them so far up. Normally they have not been sailing that well during the series.
And we can see
they are in 14th overall right now. And then the last race number 5, they had a 5th place. Now they are actually in 3rd. So also they seem to like the breeze.
Right. I see Wolfgang Hunger is there or thereabouts. He's definitely top 10. Sometimes he's nibbling into the top 5. Hunger Kleiner.
I mean, it's also very hard to predict what's happening since the boats are now more than 1 kilometer apart from each other. Even a very small wind shift means such a big difference. Yeah, it's interesting to see that also Teichel and Ross now in second place. I think they went to the left-hand side, and the SAP Sailing Analytics see them looking very well at the moment.
Yeah, and if that's where Hunger and Kleiner are as well, look, they're up to third now. If that is because they're over on the left, and we'll confirm that for you in a minute, it just shows that that's where the gain has been. And Smith and Needham leading the race. They're just putting what we call a loose cover on the boats behind them. They're not sitting right on their air. They're just staying between them and the top mark.
Yeah, Treichel and Ross, they went all the way to the left-hand side. Now we are back again.
There you go. So the left-hand side is paid on both beats.
Did you like that tack? I think the mainsail was really, really open at that point. Now he's cheating back on again. That only shows it's really blowing out there with around 20 knots. That's what the SAP Sailing Analytics show us at the moment.
Right. Well, he would. Yeah. If that's the case, then he would have been easing a lot of sheet during the tack to try and keep the boat flat during the tack. The last thing you want to happen is to get blown over as you're coming out of a tack.
And I think if you look at the angles right here, if you look on the left-hand side, like Treichel and Ross here, they have a nice angle. And on the other hand side, on the right, I think they're going pretty low, like Martin and Laurie, or also Bertolo and Reifenscheid. That's not a 90-degree angle. I don't think so. Like, they're going lower, and that means the left-hand side is favored at the moment. And it also shows on the analytics that they are catching back up. Not necessarily to the leaders, Smith and Needham, but Martin and Laurie, I think they picked the wrong side.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And it's an interesting position that the leaders have. It's an interesting decision the leaders have in that position where they think the left might be paying, but the next two boats come round and go right. So you're like, well, we'll just follow them over to the right, make sure they don't pick out something over there. And Treichel and Ross, as you said, they're the big gainers this beat. They've gained over 100 metres there over on the left-hand side of the beat, which is huge. They've gone from about 8th at the leeward mark to 2nd now.
I only know that when you're a helmsman in these conditions and you're really hiking hard, you get all the splash. Oh, the 505 is really demanding in that case.
Yeah, you see people towards the end of the regatta with really red eyes, and it's a really difficult one to get out of. You can't really wear goggles, although some people try to.
Yeah, some people might actually really try to wear goggles. I was also sometimes attempting, but it didn't really work.
Yeah, it is hard. You know, the way the spray comes off the bow of the boat, and sometimes the crew's feet, straight into the helmsman's face.
I think it's beautiful to see the visualization of this more than 100 boat fleet and the 3D animation. Really, now, I think most of the fleet is going to the left-hand side. Seems to be like they also think that this is favored.
Yes, the fleet intelligence.
Yeah.
The most of the people are right most of the time.
That's true. Most of the time, not all of the time.
Exactly.
We also saw the leaders going around the wrong mark. Some race. I think it was race number 4, isn't it? First two boats.
Yes, it was. Yeah, the first two boats misread the course. So there was a wind change. They were on their triangle, which is what we're just about to see now. The course here is a sausage, triangle, sausage. And the triangle element, there was a wind shift that turned the second reach into a run. And obviously something melted in the helmsman's brain, and he thought, right, I'm at the end of the run, went through the gate instead of going around the single leeward mark. So they had to retire from that race. But it was interesting because it was Smith and Needham who did it, and they'd just won the regatta the previous week with the same course configuration. And the next boat that followed them around the wrong course was Hunker and Kleiner, and they're 5 times world champions. You know, these aren't beginners, but it's a beginner's mistake not to, to sail the wrong course. And it just goes to show, how easy it is to make a mistake, and then, interestingly, how easy it is for somebody to follow someone who's made a mistake.
I think it's also very interesting to see that Holt and Smith, they had really good speed, and Martin and Laurie as well, but they now dropped to quite some distance to the first few boats, and Treichel and Ross, they actually really made some gains.
Yeah, so any amount of boat speed won't get you out of a massive tactical error, which it appears that going right at the beginning of this beat was a tactical error. and it's dropped the American teams of Martin and Lowry from second and Holt-Smith from third. They're now fourth and eighth, respectively, and the boats that went further left around that first leeward mark, or after the leeward gate, they're the ones who've made the game.
To my mind, if you look at this, and I think everybody's a little bit too careful to go to the really to the left-hand side, because like in this area here, there's actually a lot of room. There's clear air. I think I try to go a little bit more left, because if you look down here, this is where a lot of the boats are. This is a lot of bad air.
Yes.
Why would you sail there?
Good question.
Yeah, maybe they're maybe only afraid to do 2 more attacks, but might pay out to invest a little bit into the maneuvers.
Yeah, there's still scope to gain and lose distance.
Yeah,
Even right at the top end of this beat.
I think it's also amazing if you look on the right hand side with the boat, the pink boat, like really having a very high angle. They're pointing up, so on the right hand side you have a left shift. That's naturally not very favorable.
No, he's hoping for a header. That the guy with the purple track, he's praying for a header, and all he's getting is another lift.
So where is actually our overall leaders, Bachelor? Do you know?
They came round in the top 20. There they go. They're on the right hand side. That is them. That is them pointing very high, hoping for a header, and actually getting lifted. They're getting near that right hand lay line, and they'll be hating this.
So we see Bachelor and Pascoe.
They're the guys we were just talking about, out on near that right-hand lay line, getting lifted.
I think that was not so smart. I mean, they were 21st at the bottom mark, and now they are 22nd. They will have to tack, and I'm afraid they have clear air, but they will also, the people will tack on their
exactly,
wind.
yeah. You can see that all the people that they're going to go behind now are all going to be landing on them.
Yeah, and they will tack like here, here, here.
Absolutely.
Oh, this will be very bad for them.
So not another get out of jail free card for Bachelor and Pascoe today.
I think they were hoping a little bit. Maybe it would have been better for them to stay up on the left-hand side and maybe try to go there a little bit more and sail towards the strategically favored side.
Maybe they were gambling. Maybe they thought, well, we're really deep. We're 20th. We just gained a few places on that first downwind, but it's going to be tough to gain another 10. They want to get top 10 positions.
But you see them working hard. I mean. But now it will be even harder now when all the other boats they will tack on their wind.
Yes. Yeah, they're not going to enjoy that very much.
Now we're back in the 3D animation, and you will see that many boats they will tack. Here now you see them tacking here, here, and here.
Yeah.
And this is all the bad wind going here in this area, and this is right where they are sailing, so that's very costly.
Okay,
they might actually have to do 2 more attacks.
I think they will. Yeah, they're going to end up below that ley line. Smith and Needham round the windward mark now. And they've really extended. They had about a 100-metre lead over Martin and Larry at the bottom end, and they're just stretching out now.
Yeah, so which course are they sailing right now?
This will be the triangle, I think. This is the first reach of the triangle.
So if you look at the triangle, the next mark is towards this direction. Here it is.
Yep.
This is right where the next mark is, and so they will set the spinnaker, but they will have to go very high, and this is the goggle course, I say. Isn't it?
Well, especially with the waves the way they are coming across them on the starboard tack.
Yeah.
The waves are going to be slapping right into the side of the boat and bouncing, splashing straight up into the helmsman's face. The crew's a little bit further out because he's further away from the boat and he can pull himself up on the wire a little bit if he gets too close to the water. The helmsman's just stuck there. He's got to have his head in the waves, basically. Okay, Tricle and Rose around now. So it looks like a 300-metre lead for Smith and Needham. This is making it very easy for them. They've just got to sail safe now.
Yeah, that's like 140 seconds. That's a lot.
Yeah,
really a lot. Yeah,
that's a big lead.
It's a very big lead.
And it's because the next 2 boats that came round after them went the wrong way.
But they are below the ley line to the next mark, I think, isn't it? Are they able to really get to the next mark? 420 meters advantage.
Yeah, I mean, if it's gone left, if the wind has actually tracked left, then it'll be a tighter reach, this first one on starboard. So maybe they're going to have to drop the kite halfway down.
Yeah, but the current will help them a little bit, though it's only of minor importance since the wind is so strong.
Right.
Yeah, with 15 knots, nearly 16 knots sailing those 505, that's amazing. You also think that it's difficult to maneuver through the traffic? Like they're going really fast. They have starboard way. They have the advantage, but the spinnaker that will block a little bit of their side.
Yeah, but the helmsman can normally see underneath the spinnaker, and he gets a good idea of being of the boats that are a threat from that side.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Good.
So they're not normally too badly off with the boats coming up when they there, we just saw an illustration of that. They had to go below a boat on port tack that was coming up to the mark.
There you see the spinnaker's up, the spinnaker pole is all the way to the front, crew is out, weight is pretty far back, really accelerating away.
And now what happened there? Did Smith and Needham, have they had to drop?
And there we have the team of Findel and Tellen, German sailing team. Actually, I sailed with Johannes Tellen, World Championships in the 505 in 2011. Last year he came second in Port Elizabeth in the 505 World Championships. So that's very impressive, and they seem to go very fast on this reach. What's important now to go fast, Richard? What do you think? What do you have to do as a
Well, you've got to keep the boat flat. And you've got to trim the sails for the to adjust for the changing wind speed and direction, and then you've got to sail the waves properly.
I mean, it's amazing pictures, isn't it? A beautiful sailing.
So there's a lot going on there. You can see that the crew's moving his weight around and throwing his shoulders back to try and keep the boat flat, but he's also trimming the sheet to keep the sail at exactly the right angle to the wind, and the helmsman is steering the boat down the waves.
Yeah.
So there is a hell of a lot going on.
So Smith and Needham, they have just passed the gate mark. They will now jibe and go back.
So they did make it. They didn't have to drop on that first starboard reach. Now they're coming back towards the leeward mark. Now this is where they made a mistake a couple of days ago, where instead of going around the leeward mark, they got confused, thought they were on a run and went through the gate.
So we are back with Findel and Tellen. They are currently in 11th place. Still sort of 2/3 down the first reach. Will be interesting to see their jibe coming up soon.
Yes, we'll get a good idea of the technique well, when they get there, we'll see the technique they use to get through the jibe. That'll be quite interesting.
Yeah, I think.
But look how crowded it is. Just this is the second, third, fourth, and fifth, all in a pack. Smith and Needham have a massive lead. And then the rest of the boats behind them are all scrapping for that second place. This is going to be a great mark rounding at this jibe mark. Really difficult on this sort of leg, because to get the inside berth at the mark, you've got to be low. But if you're low, you run into the risk of being rolled by the people taking your wind from above and sailing over you and breaking your overlap.
True, so it might be better to sail some extra distance and just to keep the speed very high.
As long as you can then jibe and get back across, cross the guys, because obviously as soon as you jibe, you're giving buoy room to the entire world.
So now they all have jibe.
Look at that, Holt Smith straight through to second place on that first reach.
Yeah,
actually
amazing.
Overtook Treichel and Rose.
Do you think they also maybe might have a weight advantage in terms of that they are heavier?
They're definitely big. And Smith's a tall guy and he weighs a lot, so got a lot of leverage. And they love it in the strong winds. You know, they've won their last 2 World Championships because of their strong wind speed. But I think it's a bit of a big ask to think they might catch Smith and Needham. I think Smith and Needham are fast enough and smart enough to stay ahead.
Yeah. So this will be the reach, and then it's final upwind to the finish. Yeah.
Okay, so just to beat to the finish, they're not doing another run down with the finish leg. Okay. In that case, it's unless Smith and Needham make a massive mistake, then this is looking pretty safe for them. 550-meter lead is huge.
It's huge, huh?
Yeah, they can easily keep between the chasing pack and the next mark. So I'd imagine they'll come around this bottom mark, sail a short distance on port, and then put in a tack onto starboard when they can be sure of staying to windward of the boats coming down that second reach. Just to guard that left-hand side, which we think is the side that's favoured.
Yeah, but since it's not like a massive favor on the left-hand side, you might also tack a little bit later. It doesn't really matter. Just if you go basically into the right
direction. He's got such a
direction.
big lead that it's not going to make that much difference. But it did make a big difference. That's how Tricle and Rose got from, 7th or 8th at the 4th or 5th at the bottom mark through to 2nd against Holt and Smith that we know are going fast.
If you look at this animation, do you think they are actually reaching the mark? I mean, Smith and Needham, they just rounded. But
Yep.
you see at this point here, there was like sort of a dent in their sailing angle. So they might have dropped the spinnaker, isn't it? And that makes the course extra difficult. Here, actually
Yes.
boats, they have really... No, they dropped the spinnaker, I reckon. And they are now sailing with 2 sails back up to the mark.
Yes, yeah, that little dog leg. Yeah, so they've all made the same mistake. They've come around the mark. Well, not the same mistake. They've managed the reach in the same way. They've kept the kite up from the jibe, held it as long as they can. And this is another. People complain about not getting easy reaches, but I think there's an extra element of skill. Is number one, you've got to time your drop correctly so that you're maximizing your speed with the spinnaker and coming in at the right angle so you're doing a really fast 2-sail reach. And then the other element of it is the crew skill in doing a really quick drop, because the crew's got to come in off the wire to get the spinnaker down. So obviously you're going slow during the actual drop, and the faster you can achieve that, then you can make some big gains.
Yeah, we see the overall leaders. They still have their spinnaker up. I think the helmsman is slightly hiking with 1 foot under the hiking strap, but only 1 foot, is it?
Yeah, just trying to keep himself in the boat, I expect.
I think he could hike harder, maybe. I mean,
Yes.
he could try a little bit more.
Maybe he's trying to keep his eyes out of the water.
Yeah.
Well, you can see, okay, I think, we'll see how long he can carry on with this, and then maybe we'll see Sam Pascoe coming.
yeah.
There we go. Sam Pascoe's coming to do the drop. We should have timed him on this, actually. So the quicker he can get rid of that sail at the front, the big pink one, then the faster he can get back out of the wire, and then they can 2-sail fast to the bottom mark.
So he's really stuffing it away properly. And no, I think he should get back out. Yeah, there he is,
There
back
he
out on
goes.
the trapeze.
Okay, that wasn't bad.
Boats seem to go pretty fast all the way, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the crew work requirement, and then the other thing is the timing of that maneuver. How long do you want to keep the kite up before you drop and 2-sail in?
I mean, it's amazing. They rounded the first mark at 42nd, and they are now back to 15th. Really climbing through the fleet.
They gained another few places. I don't think they gained that many on that last beat. They seem to get on that right-hand ley line a little bit early. Okay, we can see Smith and Needham did exactly what I said. They rounded up round the bottom mark on port, sailed a short distance on port, and then tacked back across to the left-hand side. They made sure that they were to windward of all the reaching boats to make sure they had clear air, and the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th just had to follow them.
Exactly, Richard. I think if you tack straight away, then you might be in trouble. If you tack straight away and sail along here, that's a problem. That's some problem. You get back air. So that's very bad, isn't it? It might be better to sail a little bit out, just like they did, have clear air, and then go to the left-hand side. I mean, we always have to bear in mind the real advantage of the left-hand side only comes out here, where pretty late. So now you need a good clean air and good lane to the left-hand side.
So Holt and Smith pulled through to 2nd on those downwinds. They'll be pleased with that result.
Yeah, pretty close to Martin and Laurie. So the Americans seem to be a little bit faster than the Germans, which were ahead at the top mark.
Yeah, Smith and Needham, we can see there, they've put in another little saving tack. They might have been a bit... Well, they might have got a header, or they might just be being extra safe. They noticed that Martin and Larry had gone a lot further right than Holt, Smith and Tricle Rose. So they're just making sure that they're going to stay ahead of all these guys. I think they're going to tack back.
Yeah, they should tack back pretty soon. I think Holt and Smith, that's amazing. I mean, they were 2nd at the top mark, and then they had the problem on the first downwind, where they sailed a little bit too far, dropped back to 11, and now back to 2nd. They must be very pleased with their performance.
Yeah, they played their joker.
We're now back in this battle. Treichel Ross against Holden Smith, both on starboard tack, going to the left-hand side. And I think one thing is important, like the windward boat, that gives some wind show though. If you that might be somewhere here, that's bad air. But I think Treichel and Ross, they are looking good. They are far enough ahead.
Yeah, I think they're out of the bad air. They not being affected by Holt that badly, but they are a long way back.
Yeah, but they're also high enough away from all the reaching boats, which are down here, causing a lot of waves. So I think this position is really good, and classical 505 sailing with the speed racing.
The danger for Treichel Ross is that Martin and Larry are looking quite threatening. They're on their hip, what we call it. They're up on their hip. That's behind and to windward. Now, if the wind goes a little bit right, because of the distance separating the leverage that Martin and Larry have got, a little right-hand shift will be a big distance gain.
Holt and Treichel, they seem to be faster than Treichel and Ross, huh? So that might be some danger to them. They might not be able to keep their clear air.
I don't. Right now, it doesn't look as if the Martin and Larry. No, they're close. It wouldn't take much of a right-hand shift for Martin and Larry to get through both Treichel and Ross and Holt and Smith.
But they can only wait, can't they? I mean,
that's their only move, really. You know, I mean. If they wanted to really take a chance, they could dig out to the right, but then they don't want to get passed by Bohm and Ross.
And now we see
who are just behind them.
Yeah, we also see the overall leader, Batchelor and Pascoe. They are currently, where are they sitting? Let's have a look in the SAP Sailing Analytics. At the moment in 15th still, so really catching up. And
yeah, not bad, but you can see the tracks of everybody. Everybody's come round that bottom mark, sailed a little port leg, and then they're legging it over to that left-hand side.
Yeah, so that looks good. Maybe
and Smith and Needham fully controlling the whole fleet there. They're in the perfect position. They're
I mean,
far enough up.
Treichel and Ross, they will have to tack pretty soon, and then Holt and Smith, they might tack just on their wind. Huh?
Yeah, I think they will. You know, if this is the last leg to the finish, right?
No, it's up, down.
Oh,
again,
they're going to come back down.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, well, I think the Treichel and Ross are running out of options. You know, if they go to the ley line, if they go all the way to that left-hand ley line, then it's a no-brainer for Holt and Smith. They're just going to plant them.
But Holt and Smith, they tacked right now. Maybe they want to avoid...
Well, they're worried about Martin and Larry. Look, Martin and Larry are actually the next boat behind them.
Also bad air coming down from the other boats, which are still reaching. I think that's a big advantage.
There are some boats that are a long way back. You know, with 140 boats in the fleet, you know, they do get spread out. And some of these guys at the back...
Would they cross in front, Holt and Smith?
Yeah, I think they've got enough of a gap. But it was obviously worrying them. They could see Martin and Larry on their hit. Yeah. And... you know, according to the analytics, they're well past Treichel and Ross now.
Yeah.
So Holt and Smith just...
You think they will tack?
Covering their backs here. Yeah. I think they will.
I think they will avoid the two tacks and they will just keep going.
Yeah, it's a long way to that right-hand ley line from here.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
We will see, we will see.
Maybe there they go.
They just keep going. Treichel and Ross, they are also tacked right now, but I think this is a difficult situation so far in the lanes of all the other boats, which are still coming down on the reach.
And you can see Smith and Needham at the front of the fleet. They're going across on starboard tack.
No, they tack.
And now they've noticed that Holt and Smith are their main threat. I mean, I say main threat, they're 100 metres, 170 metres behind, but they are the next boat back. And they're just making sure they stay between them and the mark.
Yeah, I think that was a beautiful tack just in front, but they seem to have good speed.
Yeah.
I think more important is now Martin and Laurie. They will possibly tack straight on the wind of Treichel and Ross. I think Treichel and Ross, they put themselves in a position which is not very good because they can't do anything, can
they? Yeah, they sailed out to they got on that ley line a little bit early. If Martin and Larry do land on them, their only other option is to tack back out again to the to even further left. And as soon as you get to the ley line, any extra distance you sail beyond the ley line is distance wasted.
Yeah.
And as Toby said, no, Martin and Larry, they didn't fully plant them. They're just leading them back from that left-hand ley line.
Yeah, but this is maybe... I felt that this position is actually very, very good. Because now Treichel and Ross, they will always try to go high, pinch, 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 and maybe go very slow.
Yes.
And Martin and Laurie, they will just put down the gas and really go fast.
Yeah. They'd start extending the distance, making sure that they can get back across and tack and will stay ahead after the tack. And you can see, actually, since they've both tacked, they've actually pulled out another 10 meters on Treichel and Ross.
I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? Like this sailing, 505, big courses in Weymouth Bay, beautiful weather. Really, really tough sailing. Really tough sailing.
It's champagne sailing. Bright sunshine, plenty of wind, nice waves.
Where is actually our overall leaders? Have they already climbed up again a little bit, or?
I think they're in the middle of the course.
Yeah.
They've just tacked onto starboard tack there. You can see them labelled there in the middle of the course, Batchelor and Pascoe.
Yeah. So this time they seem to do it a little bit better, huh? Going to the left-hand side.
Yeah, but it's, this fleet intelligence thing takes over. It's going to get crowded on the left. If the left is paying, people are pretty smart. They're switched onto it, and they'll all go that way, so it gets crowded. To get free air, to get clear air, you've got to come away from that side a little bit. This is why it's always easier to sail at the front of the fleet than down in the pack.
So we are here at the top mark, but I think that's a little bit further back in the pack, huh? That's like the boats who haven't.
Yeah, those are the guys just starting their triangle, their second lap.
Yeah, I think Holt and Smith, they look pretty low, isn't it? They should have tacked, as you have said, and covered the left-hand side with Martin and Laurie.
Yes, it's getting close between them, especially as Toby said, that gain on the left is all up near the top mark on the left-hand side. And Holt and Smith...
It's actually dropping. You can see it in the analytics. They are dropping, and they might actually drop to third pretty soon. It's only 10 meters advantage at the moment.
Holt and Smith came back across a little bit early. I thought they were worried about Martin and Larry and were going to tack back to stay between Martin and Larry and the mark. But actually, they banged it all the way out to the right-hand side. And it looks to me as if they're legging it to that right-hand lay line now.
Yeah. And if
so
you look
maybe they're hoping it's going to... Maybe they're hoping the wind's going to go right, or there's a wind bend over there that'll pick them out. But
there is one boat with a yellow tail.
They're close. They're only a meter ahead now.
Yeah. But can you also see the boat with a yellow tail? Very far out on the left-hand side. I think it's Hunger and Kleiner.
Ooh.
Yeah, they went really, really far. I think they went a little bit, maybe too far, isn't it?
Well, they might have sailed that little bit of extra distance out to get there, but once they're out there, they're a little bit protected. If it heads, they're still going to lay the mark, and if it doesn't, they can just free the sheets and accelerate and reach down over these others.
Yeah.
But to get to that position, they've had to sail a bit of extra distance.
But it looks good, huh?
They've had to go beyond these back markers who had just started the first reach of their second lap.
But they look good. I think they're just on the lay line.
Yeah, I don't know who it is to windward of Hunger and Kleiner.
I think that's somebody sailing back into the harbour.
Ah, okay, right. Well, that would make sense. Okay, yes.
So Smith and Needham, they have tacked onto the lay line, now approaching the top end mark.
But now, look, you can see on the analytics, it says with that extra tack that Holt and Smith have already done, Martin and Larry have overtaken them for second place.
But they will also have to do another tack. It will be crucial to see how they do that.
It will be interesting. I mean, they've got 20-meter lead over Holt and Smith. That should be enough to get them over their bows, so they cross ahead of them and then tack on them and sit on them all the way into the windward mark.
Yeah, or tack below. I mean, the current is coming from leeward, so it might be easy to catch the windward mark even if you tack to leeward. I think
they're going to cross. So
maybe we get a video. Ah, there we are. So this is the live video from the top mark. The leaders Smith and Needham approaching the top end mark, and they will have to go to the offset mark and then set the spinnaker.
I hope if we can get the TV pictures back when we get Martin, Larry, Holt and Smith, that's going to be the close one.
That's
Martin and Larry have now pulled out like
really close.
The 20 meters. They doubled their lead in the last
Holt and
30
Smith
seconds.
seem to be below the ley line. So Martin and Laurie, they will just slam dunk them.
Yeah, and the reason to do this is not just to maintain your position. Oh, they're carrying on.
They're carrying on very far. It's interesting. Where do you think the ley line is? I thought the ley line would be somewhere
me
here.
Too.
Yeah. So they might have gone some extra distance just to make it safe.
Oh, it's just headed, I think.
You think?
I think this is a bad port tack to come in. But I don't know. I mean,
Holt and Smith, they will have to do 2 more attacks, and we can be sure that Martin and Laurie, they are back in second place for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to say the reason to slam dunk them would be to slow them down, but their extra 2 tacks are going to slow them down plenty anyway.
Yeah, so here we are back again.
Okay, so Martin and Larry are definitely going to lay. You can see they've actually gone bow down a little bit. They put plenty in the bank. They sailed beyond the ley line. Holt and Smith have had to tack back up. They thought they were on the ley line, and then it headed. Again, this is the advantage to the left-hand side at the top end. So you can see where Hunger and Kleiner are coming in.
So who is this one?
I think that's Holt.
That's
Smith,
Martin and Laurie?
No, that
Martin and Laurie, they were setting up the spinnaker? Yeah, they were setting up the spinnaker, and now it's really close for 3rd and 4th place. Holt and Smith and Hamlin and Zinn.
Holt and Smith have fallen back into the clutches of Hamlin and Zinn. Hamlin and Zinn were our pathfinders, if you remember. They were the guys who started the whole fleet, sailing on port tack all the way out to the right-hand side on the first beat.
So now it's a downwind lag, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah, they've got to go out to that spacer mark.
And I think, well, if we look at Holt and Smith, they went too far in the first downwind, isn't it?
They did, and then they had to. They actually overstood the gate, which is a cardinal sin in my book.
So it will be interesting to see how they do right now.
You know, wind shifts aside. You know it's windy. You know it's gusty. You're going to have problem if you go beyond the ley line. Jibe early. You can always jibe back.
Here we see Martin and Laurie really powering away. Really, the crew weight is very far back, getting the bow out of the water and getting minimum friction. I think, to my mind, that looks pretty good. I mean, champagne sailing, isn't it? Great pictures. Great pictures. Yeah.
Bright sunshine, big waves, and plenty of wind.
And I tell you, also on the camera boat, there is a lot going on. It looks pretty calm, but it's not so easy to hold the camera.
Look at the lead that Smith and Needham have got, 350 meters.
They only have to drive early enough, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Barring a crazy accident or a capsize, all they got to do is one more jibe now. And then they come down to the bottom gate and harden up and do a short little leg to the finish. So they're going to be doing their jibe pretty much now-ish.
You think so? Yeah.
Well, always better to jibe early than late.
You were just right. but to my mind, actually, if you look on the upwind, the left-hand side was favored. And as we know from the tide, it was a current
Well, if
advantage.
it was tight, if it was tight, then they should have jibed earlier. But if it was a wind shift, then...
I didn't see a big wind shift, the other 2 beats. And on the first downwind leg, the overall leaders, Batchelor and Pescoe, they gained a lot by driving
but don't
early.
forget, when Martin and Larry and Holt and Smith were approaching the winter mark, it headed them on starboard. So that would imply that the starboard tack is favoured on the downwind.
Yeah, so maybe go a little bit on port and starboard and then jibe early. But don't jibe too late.
Absolutely, yeah. Whatever you do, don't jibe too late because you're going to have to drop the spinnaker and come into the bottom market with 2 sails. You've sailed extra distance and you're going slower.
What do you think about?
Absolutely a cardinal sin.
So Martin and Laurie, they jibe right now.
Yeah.
So Holt and Smith, those are the 2 guys that went too far on the first downwind. So it will be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, see if they push it again.
Yeah, I mean, but there's also a tight battle right here with Hunger and Kleiner. You see that one? Oh, we're back on board.
With Bowman Ross?
You know, we're here in Hunger and Kleiner, and I think Hunger, he got rolled.
By Bowman Ross?
Yeah, he got, so two Germans, they were really fighting with each other. Will be interesting. Now we are back on the overall leaders boat.
Yeah.
They are still on the upwind, but they are approaching the top mark. It's not far.
They're going to be hating it.
Will be maybe 1 minute until they get to the top mark.
It's forecast to get even windier later this afternoon. We've got another race coming up after this one. Yeah. And that'll be even windier.
So now we are on Ian Pindle's boat, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
If I look at the sail, they're already on the downwind leg.
Pinnell and Davis.
Yeah, and now back to the overall leaders. And they are approaching the top mark. You could see the crew was coming back in.
Oh, that's a long way back.
It's a long way back, isn't it? Yeah, but still they're in 15th.
But that all happened. That was all on the first beat. You know, they were 42nd or something around the windward mark.
Yeah, maybe we can go back to the. We see here 9-1-7-1. Yeah, beautiful sailing upwind. Whew, you see
Yeah,
a lot of heeling in the boat in between.
well, that was a big gust. I mean, it might be that they're coming through. I don't know. You can see every now and then they get a big gust. That mainsail flapping. He's having to dump a load of main sheet.
Yeah, that's true. It's tough sailing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Just
he's.
beautiful. Yeah.
So we'll see the.
Even on upwind, these boats go around 8 knots, so up to 10 knots.
Yeah, they're working pretty hard. Okay, back onto the analytics. So Smith and Needham, they've lost a little bit of the lead, but they're still over 300 metres ahead. They're not going to be worried. And it looks as if everybody's jibed in time this time. It doesn't look like anybody's gone too far.
Yeah, even
Holt and
Holden.
Smith got their fingers burned on the first one.
Yeah, true. True. And it's going to be another upwind to the finish. So
really? We've got another beat?
Yeah, these 505 races have a target time of 75 minutes. So in these conditions, that's especially tough for the helmsmen. They have to fight hard. It's long races with a lot of main sheet work. You could say it's classical races. In the older days, races might have been even longer, like 2 hours.
Oh, yeah, no, they were. When it was only one race a day, the Europeans I did it, they were big, long races. We'll have to have a look at this guy. I only had a 3-to-1 main sheet. So that was a strong pull, but less string.
You were strong enough, I'm sure you were.
Well, except I was on a 2-sail reach. I had a very heavy crew, and I was okay on the upwind. Everything was all right. On the downwinds, everything's fine. 2-sail reaching. Whoa.
So you gave the main sheet to the crew, yeah? Is that what you want to say, Richard?
I would have if I'd trusted him.
So these guys, they're already rounded the gate, and they are back on the last and final upwind.
And look, you can see actually from the analytics, Martin and Lowry looks as if they jibed a little bit early. Now, what they may do here is jibe back onto starboard and then take the other gate.
Yeah,
you can see the fleet is spread out enough that they're not going to get badly impacted by boats reaching in. And because it's a downwind rather than a triangle.
So what you say is now that we have here the program back up to the windward mark, boats are going around the top mark, having to sail a small reach.
Yeah, little 2-sail reach to the spacer mark.
And then they will hoist the spinnaker, isn't it?
Yeah, these could be some of the classics, some of the back markers coming around at the top end of the last run. Whoa, capsize. Looks like the crew got in to go for the pole too early, and the helmsman didn't let enough vang off. That's normally the cause of one of those. Okay.
Okay, so here we are back again at the top mark. That's always a critical part of the race to get the spinnaker back up. Really interesting. You see them all like I mean, it's a string of pearls, isn't it?
Okay, so Martin and Lowry still managed to maintain that 20-30 metre lead over Holt and Smith. So that's second and third, and they've all come around that right-hand gate mark. They didn't take the opportunity to nibble out to the left earlier. I'm pretty sure I'd have done that. I expect Martin and Lowry are more concerned about Holt and Smith behind them than they are about catching the leader. So they realise they're not going to make up that 194 metres on the leader. So they just want to make absolutely sure that they don't fall out of second place. In a series as long as this, you know, even so, the gaps are going to be fairly small at the end, and you don't want to drop a point.
Yeah, I'm surprised nobody's tacking. Why do you think everybody's going to the right-hand side?
Maybe they're scared of getting bad air from these boats coming down the run.
Or maybe also the finish is more to the right-hand side. We actually don't know exactly where the finish is, do we?
Well, it should be somewhere near the window marks.
It should be, yeah. That's what the course area says. But to my mind, this is the only explanation that why they go right.
Yeah, I don't see it. You know, especially considering that, well, there was one gain. Martin and Lowry gained by being a little bit further right, didn't they?
But come on. I mean, generally everybody was going to the left-hand side. There must be some reason. We see here Batchelor and Pascoe where are they? They are still in 14th place at the moment, so they weren't really able to catch up any more places.
No, well, that like we said, the fleet gets spread out, so the people you're trying to pass get further apart.
Yeah.
and they're better. Like the top 15 are way better than the people who are in 40th place. So, the opportunities for gaining places diminish as the race goes on. That's the reason that the start and first beat are absolutely fundamental.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't know what happened with Batchelor and Pascoe on that first beat, but we saw them. They were already pretty deep by the time they were tacking out. They had to take a lot of transoms. They were sailing in bad air. And the leaders by that time had already gone.
Yeah, but we see on the analytics that 2 boats have tacked right now, right here. So not everybody is going to the right-hand side. So it seems to be open.
That could be the Germans covering each other. Could be Hunger and Kleiner and
Hunger and
Rose.
Kleiner, maybe. Yeah, that could be true.
This is, whoops. Oh, that wasn't particularly elegant by Batchelor and Pascoe. I think they did a little nosedive in the middle of that jibe. Look, they still haven't got the kite pulling properly.
Ooh, yeah.
And the helmsman nearly fell over. So I don't know what went on. I'd like to have seen that from outside the boat, actually. Okay, back onto the analytics. Now you can see all the boats. It was the Germans, Bowman Rose and Hunger and Kleiner, who tacked out early to go left, which is what Toby and I were reckoning would be the good way to go. And the boats in front of them have come across to try to stay with them at least, not let them get way out left of them. And this is quite interesting because...
I think it's an open race, isn't it? Everybody has clear air.
Yeah,
Everybody has clear air.
The gaps are quite big, though. They're like 20, 30-metre gaps. So we'll see.
So you can
it will take a big difference in speed or a big wind shift to get them past.
Yeah, and the second is very unlikely, and today's very stable and typical conditions here.
Yeah.
Normally, it have to be about endurance, isn't it? I mean, the race is already on for like more than an hour.
Yeah.
And in order to go full speed, you got to be fit, isn't it? I think Batchelor and Pascoe, they have taken the other mark, isn't it? They rounded the left-hand gate mark.
But they're not getting a clear air advantage. There's a boat straight in front of them that's going to be there causing trouble, and then there's a boat probably just about to jibe.
Yeah, so it might be tough for them to catch up. But, I mean, they have done wonders in the past races, so we should never lose them out of sight.
Yeah, they're in a bit of bad air, but when you're in that position, you're just trying to pick off the boats in front of you one at a time. You know that there isn't going to be much facility to make a big gain. At this stage in the race, with the gaps there are, you're not going to gain 3 boats at once. So you've just got to chase the next boat ahead of you.
That's true, very true. Yeah.
And maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe the next boat ahead of them went round the other mark, and that's why they went round the left-hand mark. So if there is a gain to be made there, that's where they might sniff something out.
I think Hunger and Kleiner, they are also looking good. They attacked straight after the mark, and they are actually...
I think they passed Bowman Rose, didn't they? Because Bowman Rose passed them on the downwind.
Yeah, and now they're back again.
Past them, yeah.
Hunger and Kleiner is always... They are both very strong the longer the race gets. That's my experience. Always nibbling away, especially in the last few meters.
Yeah, not making many mistakes, usually.
No. Yeah. We see them. They're just behind the leaderboard, very far on the left-hand side.
Right.
So they thought, okay, left was better on the second upwind, on the first upwind, so let's go there again.
They've gone a long way there.
Yeah.
They've got the biggest potential to gain here.
Yeah,
I mean, if there's a tide advantage on that side, or if there's a left-hand shift there, they could, they've got enough distance, they've got enough leverage.
We are back at the top-hand mark, isn't it? Can you see the
so.
sail number? Can you see the sail number?
8720.
8720. And I think one of the nice features...
Oh, capsized boat.
Capsize. That was Tasche and Tasche we see here. It's one of the main features of SAP Sailing Analytics. If you just know the sail number, you just type it in online and they tell you which position they are in at the moment. That is 55th, just rounding the top mark.
Well, they're going to be 54th in a minute because there's a capsized boat just ahead of them.
Very good. But they seem to have trouble to hoist the spinnaker.
They're maybe tired. We'll ask them about that afterwards.
Yeah, but Hunger and Kleiner, they don't look tired. I think they at the moment they have a left-hand shift. They seem to go lower than the others, so they might tack pretty soon.
Yeah, well, they're getting out towards that ley line anyway. So, it's one of those things where if I get a left-hand shift, I'm going to tack. But when I get out to the ley line, I've got to tack anyway. So.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of distance. I mean, if you look at the ley line, that's like here.
I'm going to ask Sam Pascoe why he's got his hand on the trapeze tackle instead of behind his head.
Oh, now you know why. He doesn't want to fly around all the way.
There you go. Yeah, no, this is, as Toby said, on the starboard tack on the upwind, the waves are really coming in from the side.
Yeah. Maybe we can go back to the 3D animation. I think that was really interesting to see now. Hunger and Kleiner coming back in, converging with the other boats. Looks like they were not able to pass some of the others, is it?
They're still 30 foot, but it was big gap. I think they've gained a little. They definitely have passed Bowman Rose on this.
And maybe actually getting
beat.
close to Hamlin and Zinn.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
No, I don't think so. Hamlin and Zinn seem to be clear.
We'll see. It is going to be interesting. That is where the battle's taking place. So the leaders are gone. Okay.
Well, what do you think is going to happen now since they cross? People are going to attack and slam dunk. I mean, there is still a lot of way to go until the ley line.
I think they're near it.
Bowman Ross, they tacked to leeward. That's a very interesting move. Maybe they want to keep clear air from Hamlin and Zinn, because Hamlin and Zinn, they will keep going and tack onto Hunger and Kleiner.
That's right. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes, I think that's a good explanation of why Bowman Ross did that. If they'd carried on, they'd only get worse bad air from all the other boats. Hamlin and Zinn, then Holt and Smith, and then Martin and Larry would all be landing on them.
Yeah, but I think they have no chance to get Hunger and Kleiner because the left-hand side pays, and this strong conditions.
Yes,
might have been actually better to go all the way. Now it's interesting to see what Hamlin and Zinn are doing. I think they will keep going. The wind is too strong to tack on another boat. Now with roughly 19.4 knots on average, very hard. Yeah.
It must be gusting 25 already.
Yeah. So back to the we go back out a little bit.
Toby's right. They're carrying on. They didn't slam dunk Hunger and Kleiner. They're obviously fairly safe. They've got a 20, 30 meter lead over them.
And the same will happen with Holden Smith and Martin Laurie. They will also keep going. They will carry on, and Hunger and Kleiner will keep the clear air all the way. Possibly.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens now. Hamlin and Zinn have tacked.
Holden Smith might tack onto Hamlin and Zinn.
Yeah,
but
they're
then
out
Martin
near the
Laurie
ley line. They are near the ley line. They're not at it yet. But
yeah, so this is like chess, isn't it? A little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, we can see Holt and Smith. They're probably going to attack nowish.
Holden Smith exactly on Hamlin and Smith. Then. So that is not.
And the same with Martin and Larry. I think they're going to attack.
Yeah, and so this is the chance for Hunger and Kleiner maybe to get closer.
Yeah, I think they're a long way back. They might close it a bit, but they're not going to catch it.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. No.
So Martin and Larry carrying on.
Yeah, tacking onto Holden Smith. A little bit late to my mind. Like to give them a big wind shadow, they should have tacked a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They're 30, 40 metres ahead. I don't think there's that much more. The only thing I was thinking was if they tacked right on them, then Holt and Smith might have tacked again, and that would have given Martin and Larry a decision.
Yeah.
Am I going to tack back out with them? Am I going to end up getting dragged into attacking battle and maybe let Hamlin and Zinn through? So
that's
they put
why
a looser cover.
A looser cover, yeah. So that was possibly smart. But Hamlin and Zinn, they tacked, and I think that was a smart move because they were losing onto Hunger and Kleiner and losing, and I think that's necessary for them.
Yeah, well, it is. Hunger and Kleiner, as Toby said, they're the ones who've got the possibility here. They've got a lot of distance between themselves and Hamlin and Zinn, and it'll only take a small shift.
It's only 6 meters, 5 meters of difference.
Yeah, exactly. They've
them.
Gained. Since tacking onto port, they've actually gained on Hamlin and Zinn.
But if you look at the angles right now, they are going lower.
They're really low.
They got really low. I think they need to tack, otherwise they will lose it.
Yeah, they're going low and fast.
But this is not where you want to go. You want to go to the left-hand side, which typically paid, especially towards the end of the beach. So once we go into this
Hamlin
area,
and Zinn have tacked back out, going for more of it.
Yeah, but I think.
But look, they're all getting a header.
Yeah, now I think
Looks
now
like
you should
they're
attack.
all being headed on port.
Yeah,
Looks
so
like the
this is the
wind's
situation where Hunger and Kleiner should attack. Now either
Yes.
they can pass ahead of Hamlin,
Exactly,
then or
yeah. They're not out anywhere near the ley line yet. But I think the other thing that's in their mind is they want to keep an eye on Bowman Rose.
True.
So there is an outside chance they can pass Hamlin and Zinn, but there's also a chance that Bowman Rose can nibble back at them. So that they've got two objectives. One's the attack and the other one's defence, and they've got to look after both of them.
Yeah, the overall leaders, they are still back in 14th, so not really much happening in the last upwind here. The fleet is spread pretty far apart, and although they are battling hard, not much position changes occurring.
Yeah, the closest two are the second and third, Martin and Larry and Holton Smith.
I think
I think Martin and Larry are pretty much in control of that battle.
Smith and Needham are about to finish the race, isn't it?
Yeah, we should be seeing them come up to the finish fairly soon. Where's the committee boat there?
Yeah, I think we'll get a live video feed very soon. They have tacked onto starboard tack right now.
Okay.
And they are powering towards the finish. Looking good. Yeah, beautiful race, isn't it?
Yeah, they'll have been loving that from about halfway down the first run onwards.
Yeah. Yeah, so now we get them back up. If we see them on the 3-day analytics, they are looking good, just approaching the finish mark. Beautiful race. Also bringing them up in the overall score a little bit. We will see later on how much that gives them.
AP over A up there.
Yeah, so Martin and Laurie, they just finished. Very, very well. Excellent race. Smith and Needham, yeah.
Martin and Larry are protecting their second place from Holton Smith. It looks like they've pulled out a little bit. So that loose cover was okay. And in fact, you can see they've sailed lower and faster, and they've come down over the top of Holton Smith just to keep them behind them.
I mean, Smith and Needham, they must be really happy. They have two retired races. One, they didn't finish the first race. Race 4, they had to retire.
They went the wrong course.
Yeah, they are currently sitting at 41st overall. So big.
When did they get their second drop? This is the end of race 6, right?
I'm not really sure, but let's look how this race finishes. There's Martin and Laurie now finishing.
Yeah.
They are still sitting in 3rd overall. A beautiful race. They were in the front pack all the time, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they led for a little while, but got passed on that second beat.
Yeah. And now in 3rd place, Holden Smith.
After their error on the first run where they overstood the bottom mark.
Yeah, back to 3rd. And
reasonable recovery.
Yeah, and Hunger and Kleiner, how is it doing with Hamlin and Zinn? I think he's passing ahead, isn't he?
No, yeah, I think Hamlin and Zinn have got it still.
Yeah, they still have it. You're right. It's 20 meters, isn't it?
But closer than it should have been.
Yeah, Hamlin and Zinn overall, they are in 6th place, sailing very consistently. And Hunger and Kleiner just behind in 7th. So this is also for the overall standings.
Protecting themselves against Bowman Rose.
Yeah, Bowman Rose.
Okay, we're back on board with Batchelor and Pascoe, I think.
Yeah, they are still way on the beat. They are in 14th place at the moment, which is their discard, which means they will still maintain the overall lead comfortably.
They were discarding a 9th before today.
So still a 14th place. I think if you look at the forecast for tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, wind getting lighter again, I think they will be really happy they climbed from 42nd at the first mark back to 14th right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not going to be majorly light. You know, it's still decent breeze. It's not like it's going to be 5 knots and anything could happen. So I think they're...
Yeah, but I mean, I think they had a speed disadvantage on the first upwind.
Right.
And if it was this wind all the week through now, they might be in trouble to defend their overall position. So they will be happy that the wind drops at least slightly.
Yeah. Well, they were the one out of the top few now. They were the ones who had the best finishing positions on the first couple of days when it was really light.
Yeah. So we're back with Treichel and Ross.
And then Pinnell and Davis have pulled up quite well, actually.
Yeah, so that's the best race for Treichel and Ross. So far they had a 9th, that's their best position, and this race is 7th. They were 2nd overall, second and after the second upward marks. It was amazing, but they lost a little bit, sitting in 11th overall.
And then in the background there, we could see Richie Lovering and Matt Alvarado.
So these flags, AP over A. So that means no more racing today.
Correct. They've canned the second race for some reason. We'll need to find out why.
I mean, we are sitting here, nice and cozy, but they have to work so hard. So maybe they say this is enough.
This is a sporting competition.
It is.
I'm
sure.
You know, you scheduled 2 races, and you don't say, "Oh, we're only going to do 1 race because it was a bit windy."
Richard,
the only thing could be that if they had a problem with the safety cover with some of the back markers getting into trouble.
Yeah, maybe that's another reason. Yeah.
That'd be a better reason than saying, "Oh, we're going to give them a holiday."
Pinnell and Davis, they are now about to finish. They are in 2nd overall, GBR 9163, finishing 8th. Very consistent so far, and in the overall standings, they are, if this race ends like it is now, 7 points behind the overall leader.
Yeah, they gain a place because effectively Batchelor and Pascoe are going to count their 9th, discard this 14th, 15th, whatever it is.
And there is Moore and Butner. They also had a great comeback in this race. They were 21st at the top mark and now finishing 9th, so catching up 12 places. That's amazing. It's
good.
Very important for them because they are in 4th overall.
And here's your ex-crew coming in as well, Findle and Tellen.
Yeah, Findle and Tellen. I mean, they were looking good during this race. At some point they were in 8th, but now finishing 10th and 8th overall.
Well, no, they'll be pleased because they'll be able to. They're definitely going to be counting this one.
Yeah.
And you know, when they get the second drop, I don't know when that comes in.
Is there a
race
second drop,
8,
Richard?
9.
Is there a second drop with 9 races? Possibly, yeah.
I
Very
think
likely.
so. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had the first drop already. I don't know. I'll need to look at the sailing instructions. In fact, I'll do that right now.
Very
if
good.
you can talk through this bit here, and
I mean, Batchelor and Pascoe, they went to the right-hand side again at the end of this speed, and I mean, very tough to gain places on the right-hand side today, and they are still sitting. They are currently. They are in 14th place, about to finish. Lovering, Alvarado, now finishing this race.
That's Richie Lovering and Matt Alvarado.
They are overall, they're in 17th, and decent race for them. And followed by Nicholas and Horse from Australia, 9105. They had a nice comeback, 25th at the top mark, climbing to 17, 15, and now 12th in this race. Give them the 10th place overall. Just in front of Upton Brown and Mitchell, 22nd overall. And right behind them is Batchelor and Pascoe finishing 14th in this race. So this race actually being sort of a drag race, you could say. Like you had to go really fast, and it's now 1 hour and 25 minutes, so 85 minutes already racing out there, and about more than 20 knots of breeze. You can see them right now. They have finished, and yeah.
So I can't find the instructions on it. I'll keep looking because I'm pretty sure they should be getting a second drop at some point.
Yeah, they fought hard. They worked really hard. We see them here. They finished. Crew going up a little bit on the wire, but you have to see the way in now to the harbor is going to be another. What do you reckon, Richard? 40 minutes?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Yes.
He's waving. He's waving for the committee, for the coach. I don't know. Maybe they have a coach on the water.
Yeah, if they've got something out there, if we get some food, maybe some drink.
Yeah, food and drink might be really important after such a long race.
Yes.
And, I mean, it's a whole week of competition. You want to stay hydrated. You want to be very well regenerated for tomorrow.
Yes.
So this was a great race. I think very interesting to see the leaders struggle in the beginning.
And if you want to look at the live tracking for that race, and you can go to SAP.com. And follow the links to get the live tracking. You can, sapsailing.com. And then follow the links to get the live tracking.
It would be great. You can see us tomorrow again. We'll also look at race number 7 and possibly 8. I would say they will sail 2 races tomorrow, and it will be interesting to see who can keep the overall lead and these champagne sailing conditions.
Okay, so it's goodbye from me, Richard Parslow, and Toby Shadowalt at Weymouth and Portland National Sailing Academy, where we're hosting the 505 World Championships 2016. See you again tomorrow. Race starts at 12. We'll be with you from 11:45.